Derek Lee.
Yeah, Koala. You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Lee. I'm a senior here at Carnegie Mellon. I'm a biology major. This is my third and last year participating in Relay for Life at CMU. And I am extremely honored to be standing here to tell you about how cancer has affected my life. First, though, I would like to welcome you all to the 2010 Carnegie Mellon Relay for Life and thank you all for your support by coming out here tonight. It's great to see so many people raising money and supporting cancer research. It has been 1 year, 9 months, and 1 week since my father passed away from epithelioid sarcoma, a rapidly spreading form of soft tissue cancer. He was diagnosed in April 2008, and on December 24, 2008, Christmas Eve, my father, Chun Li, passed away. Over the period of 8 months, my family experienced an emotional roller coaster that would test our family bonds, our strength, and our friendships. In April of that year, my mom hinted that my dad might have cancer, but I didn't know for sure until after final exams. I tried to prepare myself emotionally, but no matter how much I wanted to think I was prepared, I never was. Initially, we were extremely hopeful. We had some of the top doctors at Mass General Hospital taking care of my dad, people who were dedicated to saving his life and helping us get our lives back as soon as possible. I had more responsibilities than I ever thought I would have at the age of 19. I spent my days with my father caring for him, running errands for my mother, making sure that he took his medicine on time. At one point, I even had to give him shots. When my mom returned from work, I would go to work myself, and work past midnight. My schedule was extremely exhausting, but I put up a strong front for my parents, so they wouldn't have to worry. My family was, and still is, my life, and I was willing to do whatever I could to help them. The summer was filled with chemotherapy treatments and radiation appointments. In June, my father was put on the most aggressive regimen of chemotherapy called MAID, which consisted of a continuous 96-hour infusion of a cocktail of chemotherapies. I remember the week before his first round of chemo. My mom and dad decided to shave my dad's head, and my sister and I watched. It was the first time that this cancer became real for us, and the first time that I ever saw my dad cry. At the hospital, my mom stayed by my dad's side for all 4 days, except to go to work, and I would travel between home and the hospital in order to take care of the house. I would spend my time in the hospital while my mom worked, and my sister would come home from New York City on weekends to help out. Despite the side effects of chemotherapy and the pain from radiation, my father was an extremely resilient man. He would do whatever he could to stay strong, never losing hope. He smiled as much as he could and would make jokes and witty comments to tell us that he was still okay. He was a man who always looked at the silver lining of things and worked hard even when the odds seemed against him. He never backed once during his final 8 months. My father barely ever complained about his pain or discomfort, but always would complain about how he couldn't eat his favorite foods. He somehow managed to work from home until mid-July and wanted to pass time playing Scrabble, poker, and other games with me. And he would try to gloat when he won and say that the student would never surpass the master, though the number of times that he won was few. His mind was active, and he reminded us that he was going to fight with all his strength, and he used his quick wit and crack a joke or two to keep our family laughing. He truly was our rock, and he did everything he could to make sure that we smiled, because he knew how difficult it was to watch him deteriorate. As the summer came to an end, I begged my parents to let me stay. I knew that I could help, and that I would help my mom so that she wouldn't have to take the burden on her own. However, they asked me to continue my education, so I returned to Carnegie Mellon in August and began working hard to make them proud. My father had surgery to remove his tumor during my first week at school, because the doctors felt it was the best way to make him more comfortable and possibly increase the chances of his survival. My father's cancer had grown rapidly over the summer, and in the course of 4 months, the tumor, which was originally the size of a golf ball in April, was the size of a football when the doctors had removed it. After he recovered surgery, he continued his radiation, but the doctors held off on the chemotherapy. I continued working hard that semester, harder than I had ever worked before, because I wanted to make my parents proud. And when I came home on Thanksgiving break, I had the best time. My father had a lot of energy, and when it came to play our annual family football game with his brothers and sisters' families, he was coaching. He was walking out on the field taunting us, telling us how bad our throws were, and making fun of us as we ran around. He was full of energy, and it was as if he didn't have cancer at all. He was smiling, making jokes, and Thanksgiving seemed pretty much like Thanksgiving every other year. And it was the best I had seen him since his first round of chemo. Soon after, my parents and doctors became desperate for an effective treatment, so they turned to a trial drug. And we hoped that it would do the trick to begin getting us closer to getting our lives back. However, the drug was much more aggressive than anticipated and caused many complications. Mom emailed us when she took my dad to the emergency room in early December, and she updated us from there for 4 days. When the doctors felt that he could return to the comfort of his own home, they sent all the hospital supplies, including the hospital bed, to our house. There he was cared for by a visiting nurse and my mom, his soulmate, who set up a bed next to his, never leaving his side. At the end of my semester, I was still hopeful. It seemed as though my dad's health had stabilized and was improving. I felt that we might make it to the home stretch. I was excited to see my family and even more excited to celebrate Christmas with everyone. And I returned home after finals on Tuesday, December 16th. The moment I walked into the house, I was shocked. Our living room had been turned into a hospital room. There was a hospital bed, oxygen tanks, a walker, and a cabinet full of hospital supplies. There was a nurse and a physical therapist sitting by my dad's bed. As soon as I put all my stuff down, I went to his bedside. He was pale and sweating, and his breathing was raspy. He was conscious, but he was nothing like the man he was during Thanksgiving. He managed to smile, and I gave him a hug and a kiss, but the morphine made him lethargic, and I could see that my father's wit and glow was gone. He had to use a walker when he walked, but even still, I had to help hold him up. The nurse said that his condition was poor, and after half an hour after I got home, we were rushing my dad to the emergency room. He was admitted to the hospital that afternoon, and we called my sister to come home. We were losing hope and began fearing the worst. The next day, the doctors announced that there was nothing more they could do, and that we had about 3 months left with him. For the first time in 8 months, I cried. Our cries woke my father up, who simply smiled at us and told us that everything would be fine. He told us to stop crying and that we needed to stay strong. We began to spread the news to our extended family, and they joined us in the hospital to support us and to spend as much time as they could with him. His coworkers and our family friends came to visit him and tell him how much they loved him and how much he meant to them. My dad would smile and crack a joke or two and do his best to keep the people around him smiling, despite knowing that he knew that he wouldn't be around much longer. The next few days were an emotional roller coaster. He was mainly unconscious, and we never knew when he might leave us. On Sunday, my dad suddenly awoke and insisted on having a pen and paper to write. He couldn't write and cracked a joke about his handwriting, so we gave him his laptop instead, and he began to type a letter. He titled it, "Dear Santa," and he asked that my mom, my sister, and I would get everything we needed in life, and that we would be happy for the rest of our lives. We cried and told him that he had to stay strong, and that it wasn't over yet. That was the last day he spoke, and the last day he was conscious. On Tuesday, my mom and sister and I told him that we loved him, and that he didn't need to hold on anymore for us, and that when it was his time to go, it was okay for him to leave. So on Christmas Eve, 2008, 3 a.m., my father passed away with both my sister and my mother at his side. The family got together on Christmas Day, and we celebrated the best we could because that's what he would have wanted. The funeral was in the beginning of January, and though I didn't want to go back to school the next week, Mom told me to go, and my sister would stay with her. School seemed impossible. I began to question everything. I lost my motivation to do work, and it all seemed pointless and a waste of my time. Nothing seemed fair. I thought about how he wasn't going to be there for my 20th birthday or my graduation, how he wouldn't be there at my sister's wedding, or about how my mom had lost her soulmate. But then I began to ask myself, is what I'm doing making my dad proud? I realized that everything I had been doing wasn't doing any justice to my father's memory. I didn't want to sit around and feel sorry for myself. I wanted to make a difference, impact people's lives, and make my father proud, and more importantly, make myself proud. I didn't want to get my friends involved, but as soon as I said something, they were at my side and they did everything they could to make me smile. Since my family was back at home, they couldn't be here to take care of me, so my friends became my family. My friends listened to me, cried with me, made me get out of my room and have fun. They helped me study and get my work done. They really took care of me and helped me become happy again. I had teachers who were willing to help me bring up my grades, and I had a fantastic advisor who was there to support me along the way. I don't know if I could have managed to pull it off by the end of the semester without any of those people, so thank you all. It will be 2 years coming this Christmas, and I cannot say that I don't miss him, or that the pain of losing him is gone for anyone who has known my father. There is not a day that goes by that I don't think of him, or look at his picture sitting on my desk. However, coping becomes easier, and remembering brings more smiles than tears every day. His memories keep me strong, and they remind me how I can become a better person. When I look back on those long 8 months, I remember how much he taught me before he passed. He taught me to smile in the face of danger and despair, and that any negative situation can be turned positive. He taught me to fight with everything I have, and that family is where home is, no matter how crazy they can make you feel. My dad was truly a great man, one who positively affected the people around him, one who knew how to make people smile and laugh. He was a mentor, and a source of guidance to many people, especially to my mom, my sister, and myself. So today I stand before you to tell you to never give up hope. Though I lost my father, I now have a story to tell, to teach others how cancer affects people. A story that will hopefully bring inspiration, and that the end doesn't have to mean the end. My father made an impact on the people around him, and to this day, still manages to. I am who I am because of him, and stronger because of all the great things he did in his life. His legacy lives on in the people that he's affected. And what we're doing tonight is amazing work, and if we look around tonight, we can see how many people in the Carnegie Mellon community have been affected by cancer. So I thank you all for your hard work and everything that you've done to fundraise. Hopefully one day we will no longer have to fear cancer. I love you, Daddy.